All right, welcome back to the sports show on this here YouTube. The draft finally happened. My God, it seems like it takes 10 years with all the pre-draft stuff and the projections, all that shit. But it went down last night, making some big moves out there. We'll just run down a couple of the selections here. Obviously, Bryce Young going number 1 to Carolina. Long time ago, seems like years ago, they acquired that pick from the Bears. Pulled in Bryce Young. I didn't have him as the top quarterback in the draft. I think it was kind of weird that you went all out to get a 5'10" quarterback. I would have took C.J. Stroud there, wouldn't you, with that first pick there for Carolina?
Yeah, I think a 5'10" quarterback with the Kyler Murray experience going on right now and being a total train wreck is probably not the play there.
Yeah, he hits a good deep ball. I mean, obviously, everybody sees Bama games. They're on CBS every goddamn weekend. Carolina did add some pieces during the offseason. Thielen, who might be washed up at this point. But, hey, they tried. You had Miles Sanders they picked up, which I thought would be a great addition there, especially for a rookie quarterback. Having that security blanket besides a tight end. Good running back who can catch out of the backfield. So moving on to the second pick in the draft, C.J. Stroud goes to the Texans, replacing Deshaun Watson, who got traded last year. You know, a franchise that was sputtering out of control with all the Watson stuff, and they were horrible last year. To move up in the draft and get the guys that they did, the top defensive pass rusher, and in my opinion, the top quarterback, whatever it was they sacrificed, wasn't much to me. To get these picks, I thought it was a pretty damn good move. Gutsy move, but a good move.
Yeah, that Will Anderson pick for me stands out. That's you get D'Amico Ryans coaching there now, one of the all-time great linebackers. I don't know about an NFL history, but for them at least. And I think it's just going to be a match made in heaven. Will Anderson's going to dominate there. It's the next TJ Watt for them, really.
Poor Lovie Smith. He's got to be pissed off, right? The hell weren't they doing moves like this when Lovie was the coach? Man, he's got to be pissed off. Yeah, you know what's interesting?
I have to correct myself, by the way, JJ Watt, because TJ's in Pittsburgh.
That's right. Yeah, but Will Anderson, you know what's interesting about that Will Anderson pick? I really believe the Lions were going to target him. I think that was the guy they wanted, because if you look what fell after that, you had a quarterback going with Anthony Richardson, Witherspoon. You had the corner going to Seattle. And then that number 6 pick, I think that's where he would have fell, because I think that they would have stayed status quo. I think I think the Colts would have still took a quarterback. If we're just saying Will Anderson wasn't picked, we'll just say it was, I don't know. We'll throw in Jalen Carter, whatever the hell it is. But you know what I mean? I really think that's what really screwed up the Detroit Lions draft, is what the Texans did with that move.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the Lions were absolutely all in on Will Anderson. I don't think maybe they didn't see that happening with them moving up to 3. Because I think that they would have probably, if they knew that that was coming, they probably would have tried to trade up too. That's just my guess. Maybe they would have traded one of the second rounders to try and move up, something like that. I can't see him trading 6 and 18. I can't see that. But, yeah, I think if they would have known that, they probably would have moved up to try and get him because, yikes.
Well, yeah, hell of a foundation, though, that the Texans have set now on the defensive side of the ball with Anderson, and then obviously Stroud on the offensive side of the ball. So in the 4th pick, like we mentioned, Anthony Richardson going to the Colts. You know, I wonder if, and this is another thing too, while the draft was going on, I think they had just announced that Lamar Jackson had signed that massive contract. I wonder if there was some behind-the-scenes things going on there with the Ravens, that if they couldn't get a deal done by draft night, they were going to move his ass. And I think the Colts would have been one of those teams to step up. But I thought the timing of that contract being announced, if you want to read into it a little bit, it seemed to me that they were negotiating pretty hard, because obviously you can move up in the draft and pick a quarterback if they were going to go with Lamar Jackson, or at least get a contract out of him. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But moving on, so Richardson, like we mentioned, going to the Colts with that 4th pick. Number 5, now this is where it gets kind of wacky. A cornerback, Witherspoon, who I'm not really that high on, to be honest with you. Everybody had him on the top board as the top corner. That dude from Oregon, where is it? I can't remember his name. Christian Gonzalez, the other corner, was getting a lot of hype too. But Witherspoon seemed to be the clear cut as far as all the draft prognosticators moving forward, had him up there. And he goes to Seattle with that 5th pick. Seattle just loves themselves in defensive backs, don't they? They call them the boom squad out there they had.
This guy's small, though. I mean, I think this guy's going to get torn up out there. I mean, look at all the huge, big, physical wide receivers that are in that division. I mean, that's not 6 foot 181. Like, my dude, you got to put a little bit of muscle on there, bro. You know?
Yeah, what's funny, though, is you got Woolen on the other side, that monster corner. They got 6'3", 6'4". The guy could run, so nice little kind of, like 1-2 little punch out there, having a rookie and then a second-year player. So but like I said, it's just funny, man, that Seattle always seems to be building their teams through the secondary. You hear a lot of times it's built from the inside out, defensive linemen, linebackers. But, those teams they had, they were going to those back-to-back Super Bowls when they had Earl Thomas, Richard Sherman. Who's that other one they had? The big
Cam Chancellor.
Cam Chancellor, right. So they seem to have a philosophy that works. It's a pass-happy league. But you already got your two next corners. If Witherspoon does work out and doesn't really have to play these guys, the top wide receiver, the physical ones, because you can put Woolen on them. Or Woolen, excuse me. So I think that's why Seattle went that direction, though. You already had your physical corner, and Witherspoon can kind of slide over and get the slot receivers instead of guarding the big guys out there. But let's move on. Paris Johnson, offensive tackle, to the Cardinals with that 6th pick. 7th pick, Tyree Wilson, defensive end at Texas Tech. I was kind of surprised by that one. I really thought Jalen Carter, this is where he was going to slide in. Obviously, he did a few picks later. But Wilson goes, the DN tackle. Running back, taken off the board in the top 10. Were you surprised he went as high as he did, or do you think he'd go a little bit lower?
Yeah, 8, taking a running back in the first round is nuts. There's a stat that's been floating around. The difference between a first-round running back and every other round is 1 yard over the last 20 years. 1 yard per carry. 1.
Oh, you're talking per
There's literally no difference. Yeah, there's literally no difference between the skill set of a first-rounder and a second, third, fourth, whatever now, because that's just the way the NFL is. It's not a run-heavy league anymore. It's a pass-heavy league, and taking Bijan, I mean, what in the hell is Atlanta even doing out there? Desmond Ritter's your starting quarterback. I mean, maybe Bijan's able to throw the football. Maybe he's going to be a quarterback now. But
that would be sweet.
That'd be interesting. But yeah, totally terrible draft pick at 8. I don't know what the hell they're thinking out there. And that division's not great, but my goodness, it's just bad.
Yeah, I love running backs, but I think you're right. When it comes to getting them in that 8th spot, I don't have a problem with anybody taking a running back in the first round. That's a little too high, and especially the team he's going to, Atlanta. I don't know. I would have went offensive tackle or even defensive side of the ball when you had Jalen Carter out there, or even some linebackers that were available.
Skoronski was out there on the O-line, too. He got taken 2 picks later.
Yeah, from Northwestern, yeah. So there was a lot of better options out there. I think a running back at this point is almost like a luxury to have when you already have everybody in place. Maybe that's when you make the move to grab them in the first round. But I always go back to, and I've said it so many times, though, but imagine Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith getting drafted just the way everything is right now. Do you think they'd even put up the numbers that they did? Would they even get the opportunity? That's what I'm saying, though.
No.
That's the thing that kind of kills me, though, about the running backs getting dogged out, though, is if you think Barry Sanders wouldn't be putting up the numbers he did now, why not start that trend again? Because if you get a good running back, man, you could bash the hell out of everybody. I don't like the 2-back system. And, of course, the Lions taking Montgomery, or drafting the hell they drafted Gibbs. Yeah, drafting Gibbs and then signing Montgomery is just a waste of money. Throwing all that money at the same position and wasting a draft pick. But we'll get on to the Lions further on in the draft because that. All right, so we go. So we got Robinson going to the Falcons at number 8. Number 9, Jalen Carter. There you go. Going to the Eagles. That fits the Eagles perfectly as far as just adding to a position that they already are loaded up on. That defensive tackle, he's going to probably rotate between a tackle and a D end. But slipping, ESPN had him at number 6 for the overall talent. So he did drop a little bit. Obviously, all the off-field shit is what dropped Jalen Carter down to the Eagles. But I think it's a perfect fit, man, going over there to Philly.
I just hope I have a hot take about Philly. We'll obviously save that for a future pod. But they hired a certain muumuu-wearing coach for their defensive assistant by the name of Matt Patricia.
Yes, they did.
And I think that's the dumbest move they can possibly do. I think Jalen Carter's going to flounder there and be terrible because that idiot Patricia is going to tell him he doesn't need to be in shape. He just needs to be on time for all of his meetings, and they'll win.
He's a rocket scientist. You know that, right?
Yes. He has to keep the pencil in his ear, even though he carries a laminate that he literally can't write on.
And that stupid-ass beard he has. All right, so number 10, we got the Bears taking an offensive tackle. They needed this for protection for poor Justin Fields. This guy's going to be rolling around in a wheelchair by the time he's damn 27 years old, the way he's getting smacked around out there. I like to pick for the Bears. We'll see what they do moving forward because they need some wide receivers too, and any kind of offensive weapon would help. You know, just on top of my head, just looking at this, Bijan Robinson going over there to the Bears, see, that would have been a good pick at the top 10 for Chicago just because you're going to get Fields some help. But number 10, you got Darnell Wright from Tennessee going to the Chicago Bears. Number 11, another offensive tackle comes out the board from Northwestern, Skorinski. Don't get him mixed up with Darryl. And number 12, this is where we're going to get interesting here. We got the Detroit Lions taking some running backs here. Jahmyr Gibbs to Alabama. Now, I see the thumbs down. I don't really mind it, to be completely honest with you. The only thing that I don't like about it is why the hell did you go put all that money in Montgomery? You could have filled the position of need, like maybe a damn wide receiver, since I think they knew what was going to be going down with that, with Williams and all the off-field antics that were going on over there. I mean, they basically are running a casino over there in Ford Field.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a terrible draft pick, especially when you had guys like Will McDonald sitting there that got taken a couple of picks later. Jury's out on him, but I mean, you still had Christian Gonzalez out there, and he falls all the way to 17 for the Patriots.
Yeah, they needed
What are you freaking doing, Lions? And even if you wanted to, Jackson Smith and Jigba fell to 20. I also have a hot take. I don't think J-Mo's ever going to be what people think he is. I think he's going to be somebody that's going to be constantly in trouble. I've been reading a lot of stories about his immaturity. He's not taking things seriously. The guy went to a fight the day he was suspended out in Las Vegas and partied. I mean, personally, if I got suspended from work, I don't think I'd be partying. I think I'd probably be at home being like, damn, I'm probably going to get my ass fired. Like, yeah,
I'd be doing a podcast.
There you go. I'm not sold on that pick. I think it's a terrible pick. There's a lot of other stuff there that I think would have helped them. The Lions are in win now mode. Yeah. I don't think a rookie running back helps you win now, especially when you sign Montgomery for six and a half annually. Yeah. Just I don't get it at all.
Yeah, that's the thing for me now. So this is for me the way I explain it. So if they didn't get Montgomery, I would have had no problem with them taking Gibbs. I thought that would have been a cool pick. They have a franchise running back in there, at least a running back who's explosive. But the problem I do have with it is the fact that you did sign Montgomery. Because, like I said, you could have filled in that wide receiver position or whatever position you need, a cornerback. That's where I had a problem with it. Why take a guy who's going to be on a rotation with that 12th pick when you can have somebody play pretty much every down at any other position at that spot? So, yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. So let's move over to the 13th pick. Van Ness goes over to Iowa for the Green Bay. Oh, my God. Green Bay takes a defensive end. How the hell is that? They take a defensive end from Iowa. Moving to the 14th pick, Broderick Jones at Georgia. Going to the Steelers. Offensive tackle. This dude is a monster out here. 6'5", 311. I actually had one of the few offensive guys I actually watched a little bit of game tape on YouTube, man. He was a mauler. Fits that Pittsburgh Steelers franchise perfectly.
Yeah, I'm happy that the Steelers traded up to get him because I think he would have gone next to the Jets if they sat there behind that. So I'm glad that they traded up to get him. Love it. Great for Kenny Pickett. He needed that. Yeah. I think he's going to be great out there. I really do.
Such a Pittsburgh Steeler move, too. Just to go out there and grab an offensive tackle instead of fucking with the skill positions. All right, number 15, an offensive linebacker going from Iowa State. Will McDonald IV going over there with the 15th pick. Emmanuel Forbes going to Washington, a corner at the 16th pick. 17, this is where some of the corners are coming off the boards here back-to-back. Gonzalez out of Oregon. I'm kind of surprised he dipped as low as he did, because moving into that draft, a lot of people had him as the top 2, 3, even the top corner at that position out of Oregon. Good size, 6'1", 197. I think another, like we talked about with Seattle and Pittsburgh, just a typical pick. The guy dropped off the board for whatever reason, and New England does a hell of a job with their secondary under that Belichick coaching tree with his staff. So I think it's a pretty good pick as far as how it's going to fit the scheme over there with New England. And the Detroit Lions back on the clock, taking inside linebacker Jake Campbell from Iowa, who CBS and ESPN, I believe, had him as the number 2 inside linebacker at his position. So a pretty good pick. I didn't have a problem with this one. I would love for them to go defense on both picks, but at least we got ourselves a linebacker here with Jake Campbell. Good size too, 6'5", 250. Whoa.
I've seen, from the analysis I've seen on him, he's a very good typical stand-up linebacker, but not great in coverage. And that's the one downside. The Lions have literally no linebackers that can cover anybody. All 3 of them are liabilities in the pass game. So, just imagine if they traded back and drafted Christian Gonzalez there, and you had Jack Campbell and Christian Gonzalez.
You got yourself a corner, you got yourself an inside linebacker. Yeah. I agree.
I feel like that would have been so much better.
All right, so just moving on here. Not a lot of picks that kind of stand out or surprising, at least to me. Nolan Smith, outside linebacker from Georgia. Miles Murphy, the DN from Clemson. Lions kind of a couple things I was looking at before the draft. They maybe had Murphy going to Detroit at the defensive position. He did not. He went over to Cincinnati out of Clemson, and that is your first round for the NFL draft. One more thing I want to touch on here too. At that wide receiver position, Quentin Johnston from TCU going over the Chargers. Herbert getting himself another playmaker out there. Johnston, I remember when he played Michigan and tore their ass up, dude. 6'3", 208. He has incredible speed. I think that's going to be an underrated or under the radar pick there. Quentin Johnston going to the Chargers. That deep ball that Herbert can throw, I thought that was a good pick out there.
Jordan Addison off the board at 23 to the Vikings. It's a huge pickup for the Vikings. That guy is outstanding. Transferred from the Fighting Narduzzi's over to the Fighting Trojans out there with Lincoln Riley. And I mean, he had a great year. Great receiver. Great pick at 23 to fall all the way down there. My goodness. I'd have even been happier with the Lions taking him at 12 instead of a running back.
It's definitely a position of need for sure.
Yeah. And then the gun king of the Midwest, Mozzie Smith, getting picked up at 26 by the Cowboys. That just feels like a fit there, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, man. He is a monster out there at D-tackle for Michigan. Smith was 6'3", 323, brought some size and chaos to whatever team he faced besides TCU. I still can't get over that shit, how they got blown out. But, yeah, good pickup for the Cowboys, man. They're going to have to kind of rearrange their whole identity, dropping Ezekiel Elliott, having Pollard be the main feature back out there. Speaking of Elliott, I haven't – talking about running backs, I haven't heard anything about him. Like, not even a damn hint of anybody interested in signing him. Probably the Lions would get him, right? That'd probably make a little bit of sense for them to pick him up.
Yeah, maybe they can keep 10 running backs on the roster to compensate for how few wide receivers they freaking have.
Right, though. The whole special team's full of just damn running backs sprinting downfield on coverage and shit. So, as we approach May, pretty surprising teams, or interesting teams, I should say, because if you dig deep into Pittsburgh, we talked about before we even recorded this, they lost their starting shortstop, or should I say their starting center. Got a 6'7" damn shortstop out there. Blew his leg out at home plate, but still continuing to roll on for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are just rolling. Mitch Keller, in the last performance against the Dodgers, I don't know if you got the highlights of that, struck out 10, was just dealing out there. And how about Andrew McCutchen? 5 home runs, 13 ribbies, 272 batting average. How old is McCutchen?
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's got to be like 40, bro.
36. 36 years old, but
he's my age.
Yeah, he's leading the team in home runs. Not too far behind on the batting average out there, but some power for McCutchen. 21-5, yeah, plus 96. That's incredible. I think they only have 2 losses at this point, so they're 14-2 at home for Tampa Bay. You know, it's funny, man. I was thinking about just seeing them get off this 21-5 start. It really makes you think how incredible that 84 Tigers team to go 35-5, because we're looking at Tampa, and yeah, they won, I think, 13 in a row or something like that. But my God, 84 Tigers, 35-5 to start the season. Good stuff out there. Max Muncy, I want to touch on this for the Dodgers. Max Muncy is having himself a damn season. 11 home runs, 21 RBIs, leading the league in that power department. His OPS is 1129, or as the kids say, 1.129.
Wow, that's insane.
It is insane. And I think, how many games has he had? He's in, I believe, 23. I think we're about 23 games into the season. So he's on pace to hit about 400 home runs, which would be a pretty damn good season, if you ask me, for Max Muncy out there.
Record breaking, clearly.
Right, he's doing some MLB The Show shit out there.
A misnomer that I find is a lot of people want to discount the steroid era. Like, oh, they were on steroids. It's like, most people have no clue what steroids actually do for people. Like, you don't just put the needle in and you sit at your computer and then you get big. Like, you still have to work out.
Oh yeah.
All it does is help you get leaner. Like,
yeah. But I will say this though, man, that the fact that they had at the top of my head, I want to say 3 or 4. I know McGuire and Sosa obviously hit 60, but they have that many guys hit 60 home runs in a 3 to 4 year stretch when it only was done twice before that. So I think that extra 10 feet of power definitely pushed it. But you're not going to have guys like I don't know, Skeeter Barnes or Milt Kyler hitting 60 damn home runs just because they're taking steroids.
Remember, Ken Griffey Jr. was still hitting bombs too, and he never tested positive for anything.
Yeah, Griffey was the cleanest of that whole era out there. That's another guy, man. It's a shame, all those injuries he had. I think he missed literally like 3 or 4 seasons where he only got like 40 games in and shit like that. He would have easily cleared 700 instead of went to A-Rod.
He was my favorite player growing up. One of. Second was Bobby Higinson.
Oh, but, no.
Yes.
You like Bobby.
I wore number 4 my whole time when I played youth baseball.
You know Bobby Higinson. This is some shit here. You know Bobby Higinson actually got a Hall of Fame vote one year.
Who voted for him?
Probably you. Because I don't know who the hell else would have voted for his ass. Yeah, he got a Hall of Fame vote. What happened? You know, that's a guy that I never followed once he left the Tigers. Did he go to Philly afterwards and that was it?
No, he never played anywhere else. After 05 with the Tigers, he never played anywhere again. He had a decent career. You know, as much as he gets flack, 272, 23.1 WAR, better than Javi Baez. 187 homers, 1,300 hits, 700 RBIs, 91 stolen bases, 358 on base percentage, 455 slugging, 813 OPS. I mean, that's pretty average numbers there, but you get 1,300 hits. That ain't too bad.
Bobby Higinson reminds me of Brandon Inge.
Yeah,
everybody just has this fascination about how, maybe because he was the best player at the time, or at least the most, recognizable player on those bad teams, Higinson and Inge both respectively, but I don't know.
You want to hear Brandon Inge's stats?
Oh yeah, let's do some Brandon Inge stats. Maybe we'll do that instead of just talking about the Tigers, because it's probably more fun.
Brandon Inge played 13 seasons, so 2 more years than Bobby Higinson.
Who's 19?
Definitely Higinson. 19.2 WAR, 4 points worse. In 5,000 at bats, he only had 1,100 hits. 5,000. He hit 233, 152 homers, 648 RBIs, 45 stolen bases, 301 on base.
Higinson had more stolen bases.
Slugging. Yes, he doubled it.
I would have never guessed that. Jim Leland loved himself some Brandon Inge, so that was his fucking guy, man. Him and Bonderman.
Brandon Inge's peak season is 04. He hit 287.
All right.
793 OPS. which is literally like fucking league average.
Yep.
13 home runs, 64 RBIs. That's his best season.
How many All-Star games?
That's awful. I don't even know if it shows it. Does Baseball Reference show All-Star games?
Yeah, you have to go to like what is it?
Oh yeah, it's up top.
It's a little tab. You hit
one time.
Oh right.
Then when he left here,
Oakland, right?
He went to Oakland. Man, that's awful. Before he got traded in 2012, in 9 games he hit 100.
He hit over 100 better than fucking some guys.
Then when he went to Oakland that year, he hit 226 with 11 home runs.
Typical.
And a 675 OPS, so below league average. And then the next year, 2013, he played in 50 games. He batted 181 with 32 strikeouts in 105 at-bats.
Right, there it is, a little NFL draft recap and some damn baseball here on the Sports Show. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. See ya.